Hi guys, welcome back. This is Tracy with TR's Tarot Talk 1111. I am here to do the channeled message, guided channeled message, whatever you want to call it. I did my sacred bath this morning and I did a automatic writing, and I asked Spirit to tell me what was the theme for this new supermoon in Scorpio that we are experiencing. And it was pretty profound. Pardon me, I'm losing my voice. Allergy season. So I'm gonna read from this because I have had so many disruptions today. And it's hard to do a channeled message when I have to break the channel with spirit in order to answer the phone or get the door. So anyhow, how are you guys doing out there? I literally have put 5 pounds on in this quarantine. I don't think I'm eating more. I'm just moving less. Okay. So I guess I'm going to have to back off on the food if I can't move as much. So if you're new to my channel, welcome. It is that time again on this channel. I do the new moon and the full moon every cycle. I'll do 12 zodiac signs for guided information for that cycle. Boy, that's a beautiful bird out there. See, pretty flowers. Ooh, butterflies. I get distracted really easy. So we're just going to get right into it. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Yeah, just dive right in. Okay. I do everything from a spiritual perspective. I'm that kind of reader. I talk to you about your ascension journey and your soul's journey, your energy, what chakras need cleared. I'm a Reiki master. I'm a psychic medium. So we're just going to get right into your reading. And this is automatic writing that I did channeling spirit. And like I said, I did get disrupted a couple times. So when I read it, if it doesn't flow real well, I apologize. Okay. So what the channeled message is for Scorpio. Now we all know that Scorpio in the tarot is all about transformation. It's about death and rebirth. But we've kind of been going through those transformations for a while. And so I feel like what Spirit is telling me is that during this is the last supermoon for this year. Okay. Or at least if the resources that I looked it up online are correct, because I don't know for certain. I don't have a moon calendar anymore. They sold out of them. And so if Google is accurate, this is the last supermoon for this year. All right. And I believe that this is like the last call to get rid of all old cycles and belief systems that Spirit's been pushing you to release and let go of for a while now. And you've just been holding on. And then there are those of us that have already let go, and we've been experiencing the grief or grieving cycle. So I'm going to read you what I got. And it's really profound because I was called to draw a card from the postcards from Spirit, and it's so on point with my channeled message. I'll read that to you too. Normally, I don't do that. I do that for myself. I just, that's my daily guidance. I draw one almost every day. And so I drew it for my own personal guidance. And it's so on par with my channeled message that I'm going to share it with you at the end. So stick with me all the way to the end. And then watch for your 12 zodiacs. They will be coming up today, tomorrow. They'll trickle in probably 3 or 4 at a time. Okay. So we have the channeled message is regarding healing a planet. No, wait a minute. That's just not even right. Wrong page. That was last month's. Okay, full supermoon in Scorpio is about grief, loss, transmutation, transformation, letting go of what needs to be released. As humans, we tend to get comfortable and settle for routines or cycles. What Spirit showed me was an image of the 4 seasons: winter, spring, summer, fall. For every season has an ending and a beginning, like a circle. There is no real beginning or end. There's no real death. It just magically merges into a new beginning. We, while in human form, having human experiences, really have a tendency to resist or push against these natural cycles of death and rebirth. We tend to become attached to our environment and become stuck in old energies, thereby not allowing our natural rhythms to expand and grow to happen for us, right? So sometimes we forget that once we let go or let grow, that it's necessary in order to be in the natural flow state. I can't even read my own writing. It's channeled writing. So we need to look back to nature. Spirit showed me this clearly, like we need to get back to nature. We need to get back to the natural rhythm, the natural flow state of being on the planet. So if you look at a tree, how does it weather a storm or all 4 seasons? How about the animals and the flowers and the insects? The difference between being a creator and a creation is the power to create. So anything that's sentient, that has life, has the power to procreate and to create. So this full supermoon in Scorpio is the last death and rites to the old cycle. It is the last supermoon until 2021, if my search is right. We, as a creator race, have this weird way of fearing change. We get comfortable even in our own discomfort. Isn't that weird? Like we get comfortable in our own discomfort. I did that. I stayed in a marriage for 10 years longer than I should have. Why do we do that? I have no idea. But we do tend to get this fear around change, and we get comfortable in the discomfort. And we tend to cling to the old, even if it seems as if it's served its purpose and the lesson has already been learned. For whatever reason, because we fear this very change that brings new life and a fresh new cycle with brand new experiences, sometimes Spirit has to intervene on our behalf, right? So we create this huge energy of resistance to growth and change. As parents, we struggle watching our children grow and graduate, become independent, go off to college, or a new job in a new city or state. Then they distance themselves even further into autonomy by falling in love and getting married and starting a family of their own. But if we look to nature, we will see the flow of creation. Birds know instinctively when to push the fledglings out of the nest. No resistance, but in the flow of the natural cycle. Humans will stay in a job that they hate and resent. Yet a tree knows its purpose and lives it without trying to be a bush. A flower knows its purpose is to pollinate, among other things, right? And the bee's purpose is to be the pollinator. Then Spirit showed me through the death cycle, everything through the death cycle of purpose, everything has a purpose. See, I'm telling you, when I channel, it gets a little iffy. But basically, what I was shown is that everything has a purpose. We need to be living our purpose, What are your gifts? What are your talents? What is your mission? What is your purpose? Your soul's purpose. All right. And the deaths and rebirth cycle, there are cycles within cycles within cycles, right? But we're looking at with the Scorpio moon, what cycles are over. What are we clinging to that no longer serves us or that's dead and gone? And, even in nature, so we go back to the nature thing because Spirit showed me a lot of visions about nature. Our sole purpose is to take care. See, I got to read this again. Did you know that there are in nature creations whose sole purpose is to take care of all the death, decay, and disease? There are medicinal plants and herbs in nature for animals or to heal humans and animals and humans who take care of diseased plants and herbs. God, guys, stick with me. Okay, so basically, what they showed me is like vultures and birds of prey, things that clean up the death, the decay, the things that are done. In nature, everything has a purpose. Everything has cycles. Everything takes care of itself, right? It's when humans disrupt the flow of what nature does that we experience overpopulation or new diseases, new viruses, right? That's apropos. So I'm going to skip all this because I mean it was a whole channeled message, but basically in a nutshell, there's a rhythm to nature and everything is taken care of. It's like when the tree needs to be trimmed, or in the forest, if there's parts of the tree that dies, the windstorms purge it, take care of it, knock it down. Then it decays and there are ants and bugs and animals, and it's just a very balanced natural state. Okay, so this supermoon is all about, I feel like there are going to be two groups of us in the collective during this super full moon in Scorpio. There are going to be perhaps Group A, let's just call it Group A. Group A are in marriages that they are so unhappy or so toxic or so dead, just done, 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 right? But because of their fear of change and because of the fear of what that change will look like or what it'll make their lives become, they cling to it, right? Same thing with jobs. How many of you are working jobs that you absolutely hate and they don't support you in the way that you want to be supported? And then there are relationships that are friendships and situationships that we know were karmic lessons, and really we've learned the lesson. It's time to let it go. It's time to grow. It's time to expand, yet we keep clinging to it. This is a repeat lesson from a previous full moon, I think, without going back to research it. But I remember the feeling of this message is that, what are you clinging to that's dying or dead? And so that's Group A. And some of you guys have been clinging to this since 2018 or longer. I mean, for me, it was 10 years in my marriage. So I think this moon is a catalyst. And I think that because we are creating the new earth, the new energies, the new grids, the new, this coronavirus, the world is changing for the better, my belief. And so in order for change to happen, we have to let go of what doesn't work, what's broken, what no longer serves us, right? If we want to experience something better, we have to let go of in order to know what you do want, you have to know what you don't want, right? So then Group B, Spirit showed me, and I looked it up because I felt compelled to. I feel like, let's go back to Group A for just a moment. I have a feeling that death card, that scorpionic energy, is going to happen no matter how tightly you are clinging, because the old paradigms, the old belief systems, the old ways of running this earth is changing. And in order for us to survive the change, we're going to have to be open to allowing the endings to happen for the new beginning. So, Group A might be experiencing tower moments, divine intervention, where spirit just comes in and says, okay, we understand you're scared, you're struggling, there's a lot of fear on the planet, and you're manifesting more of what you don't want. So we might just pluck it out of your hands and let nature take its course, right? That might be tough for some of you guys. If you find yourself in that group A, that could be a tower moment. That could be divine intervention. It's boom. The foundation is not sturdy and it's coming down. The tower is coming down. All right. So then now I feel like we can go into group B. So group B they've already been through, they're just a little bit ahead of group A. Okay. Some of us, and I feel like I've done this, there might be other things. I might get tower moments on other things I'm clinging to that I felt I still needed, and maybe I don't. But I feel like I'm in group B, where I've done my divorce. I've lost my weight. I've changed my eating habits and my behaviors. I've put up healthy boundaries. I've stopped becoming codependent on others to meet my needs that I'm quite capable of meeting on my own. I've learned how to kind of be that Nine of Pentacles, pre-Empress energy, where my foundations have become more sturdy. I'm making better choices. I'm not afraid all the time. I'm not recreating more bad stuff through my fear of bringing in more bad stuff. With that whole law of attraction thing, what you worry about is what you get more of, right? I was in that cycle. I've done a lot of inner healing and a lot of purging and a lot of childhood wounds being looked at and sat with and emotions released, right? Which, by the way, for those of you who have been asking about my brother-in-law, he did pass. He had a major aneurysm, and it caused brain damage to the point where he would have had to be on life support for the rest of his life. And his family couldn't do that, and he wouldn't have wanted that. But thank you for your prayers. And if you would please continue praying for the family while they grieve their losses, I would greatly appreciate it. Okay, so now this is what we're getting into, is the grieving process. So for people in group B, a lot of your endings have already happened. But because we tend to push down and bury our emotions, which, by the way, causes more damage and more to clear later. So in the new earth, the new paradigm, we are learning how to control our emotional responses and to allow ourselves the permission to be vulnerable and to feel those emotions, and not to eat them away or drink them away or numb them with drugs, or just, God forbid, just avoid it altogether. Avoidance, right? So group B, I feel they are realigning, tidying up, cleaning the bones and carcasses of all the old energies and relationships and situationships, belief systems, timelines, etc. So for those of you who are still desperately clinging to something you know is dead and decaying, it's time to accept the loss, and it's time to grieve. Grieving is a natural process and has its own cycles. Like the moon waxes and wanes, so must we in our human nature honor and grieve our losses by going through the process or cycles. And there are 5 stages to complete a cycle of grief or loss: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and then finally acceptance. And because I've had to go through the grieving process many times in my life, too many times, I know that it's not a neat little package. It's not like you deny it and then you get angry and then you bargain and then you get depressed and then you accept it. No, sometimes you might feel like you accepted it and then you get depressed about it and then you get angry and then you deny it and then you go back. It's like all over the place, right? So for group A, this is what you need to do. You need to let go of what you're clinging to. And then you need to move into the grieving stages and be gentle with yourself. It's like, yes, the grieving process is not easy. But if you do it right, if you accept what is dying, if you allow yourself to mourn, if you allow yourself to just crack that chest open and let it whoosh out, nobody has to know. You don't have to be afraid of being weak or crying, or some of us are just so desperately afraid that if we let it go, we'll never be able to put ourselves back together again. It's that fear of everything crumbling beneath your feet, and the fear of not being able to rebuild. But trust me, you can and you will rebuild, but you can't hinder the process. You got to go with the flow of nature. Okay. And those in B, a lot of you guys, I'm so proud of you, have been doing this. You've been in your grieving process. Some of you are at the tail end of it. You're getting to the acceptance. I feel like I've gotten to the acceptance part. And even losing Greg, who, by the way, was one of my first loves. There's been 3 men in my life that really changed my life in profound ways. Some for the better, some for the worst. But I wouldn't be the person I am today if it wasn't for them. And I met Greg Jarvie when I was 13 years old. I was a very mature 13. I looked like I was 22. And he was 17. And because his family and my family knew each other, his dad was our mailman most of my life, my parents approved of Greg and I dating. And so, it's a long story, but he meant a lot to me. And this is the first death that has happened in my life that I believe I grieved appropriately. I didn't try to push it down. I didn't try to stifle it. I prayed, I meditated, I reminisced, I talked to his higher self, and I held his hand while he transitioned. And I understand now the cycles of life. And I know that he's going to get to come back in another avatar and inherit the very earth he just left, right? Different, better. So the grieving process for group B, if you guys have already been going through this and you're finally getting to the acceptance, stage 5, where you're accepting that the marriage is over, it's done, whatever your situation is, right? Whatever it is. I'm just going from my own perspective. So I feel that group B is moving into the cleanup stage. If you think of the 4 seasons again, it's springtime. And I've noticed everybody mowing their lawns, they're planting their gardens, they're tilling the soil, they're, painting, they're cleaning, they're burning brush, and that's the energy I feel that the Scorpio supermoon is going to be for group B. For those who have let go of what was dead and dying, release toxic friendships, toxic relationships, known and not known, but learned their self-worth, their self-value. It's like stages, right? You're going through that stage and that cycle. And so this supermoon is going to be an opportunity for you to prepare for the new beginning. It's transformation. You're transforming things, right? So remember that energy, or that emotions are energy. It's energy in motion. okay? And if you've been suppressing or resisting, experiencing and letting go or grieving, and naturally releasing and allowing the cycles to end, not suppressing your energy or your emotions, but remembering how to instinctively heal and release those emotions. It's all over the place, guys. Through the natural process or stages of grief. I feel there would be, I already did all that. So we're just going to move on now because, I write all this out because it's being channeled by spirit. But quite frankly, I just really feel like there are two groups of us, and some of us are going to experience tower moments because we refused the call. We refused to let go of what was dying. And if you've ever lost somebody that you truly love, you know that you can't gather them up in your arms and hold them forever like you want to, because there's going to be decay. There's going to be a breakdown, a natural process of what is gone needs to transform and transmute and change, right? So don't cling to it. It becomes a mess, and God will step in for you. So now comes the new age stuff, okay? Because spirit showed me this too. So after this full super moon, we should be a little bit further along on the ascension journey, a little bit further along on co-creating with the divine, a higher and better way of experiencing life on Gaia. And we are literally creating the new world and the new experiences through conscious awareness and choice. How many choices have you made in the past when you were asleep in the matrix and you just didn't know what you know? Now that you know what you know, you can't unknow it. And so every choice you make from this day forward will be done in the knowing. And so you will make higher and better choices. Higher and better choices. So we are clearing away many cycles within cycles within cycles, okay? The big macro cycle is we are leaving the age of Pisces and entering into the new age, the new earth of Aquarius. So it's the end of one cycle and beginning of a new one. In order to evolve and grow into something new and better, there are some timelines that need to be collapsed. Spirit was very, very clear about choose your timeline, guys. If you want, there's a lot of simultaneously running timelines right now. There are the dark cabal and the government stuff and, the hand behind the curtain. And there's a lot of timelines and they all exist. We are all coexisting together. We're multidimensional beings. But your vibration is how you show up on this matrix timeline. You choose. Do you want to be in the high vibe of health, wealth, prosperity, creation, choice, love, joy? Or do you want to be a conspiracy? Because it's all happening. And trust the wave you came in on. If you have a calling, I have a very special friend of mine that has a calling. He does the deep state mapping project. And he has a very deep calling, and his mission, I believe, is to be in all that dark stuff and to expose it to the light and to get healing in those timelines. But I'm here to tell you that the time is now, the time is now, the time is now. You need to choose your timeline. If your mission work is in the lower vibrational timelines, then of course you're going to stay there because that's what you incarnated for, is to transmute and transform those paradigms, those timelines. But be careful when you're on Facebook or you're watching the news or you're watching, Hollywood movies. Be careful that you don't choose a timeline that really is not the experience you came here to have. It's important to know what your mission work is because, like the tree knows it's a tree and not a bush, we all have innate gifts that are meant to be used at this time. Trust the wave you came in on. We incarnated for this transition. Okay, so in order to evolve and grow into something new and better, there are some timelines that need to be collapsed. And the Scorpio full moon will support or activate us to let go of and grieve naturally instead of suppressing our emotions and clinging to the pain. We will remember the flow state of our nature. Our emotions are like water. That is why it is represented in the tarot as cups. So the theme of the Scorpio full moon is for Group A, the final catalyst. This will be your final catalyst to let go of what's dying or perhaps experience a divine intervention in the way of a tower moment. And, there might even be a third option there. You might just have to stay where you're at and experience that grief. You might just have to sit with the decay. I don't know. I wasn't shown that. I was shown that, if you're here for a reason and a purpose and a mission, then Spirit's going to boom, bring that tower in and push you into where you're supposed to be. But who am I, right? So that's Group A. You might get a divine intervention. So you can finally complete those cycles and that have been needing to be completed in order to start the grieving process to get you to stage 5 of acceptance. Or for Group B, who have already started and perhaps finished the grieving process and are now moving into the cleaning and preparing for the new cycle that is replacing the old. In the monthly zodiac readings, we'll be looking at what Spirit is guiding you to do until the next new moon on May 22nd, 2020. Okay, so there's a lot of papers here, and I really shortened that because when I do automatic writing and channeling, I got to write down as it comes in. But the gist of it is, what group, what wave are you on? Group A or Group B? And if you'll know. And the zodiac readings I'm doing for you in the next couple of days will show you. I'm sure of it. Spirit will put in your reading. If there's a tower, you might actually figure out what group you're in, right? Or maybe all of us will experience. I don't know. I can't pat myself on the back and say I'm done because I don't think I'm done. But I think I've done a lot. And I feel peace where I used to feel angst or anger or desperation. I don't feel that anymore. Yes, I still get triggered. The past comes creeping in. What you thought was dead and buried sometimes still has a ghost, right? It's dead, it's gone, it's buried, but there's a ghost there. And so that's residual. Those are residual time, energies from timelines. Once you collapse those timelines, you might have some residual energy or ghosts to exercise, we'll just say. But I'm curious. I can't wait to do your readings to find out, who's doing what and what is going to be coming for us, and how do we handle it with grace and dignity, and how can we loosen our fingers up and find our ability to let it go. I don't know. I've been in the grocery store with some little kids, and sometimes you got to pry that they have to put the candy right there at the checkout. I remember having to pry candy out of kids' fingers. There was a lot of candy bought for them too, but there were times, when it wasn't appropriate, they had too much sugar or whatever. As a parent, you have to say no sometimes. So God's going to have to tell you no sometimes. And if you experience a tower moment, that's like God taking the candy out of your hands and saying, enough is enough, enough is enough. Maybe you're not mature enough spiritually to know when to put the candy down or the booze down or the drugs down or the horse down or the cat down, or, we cling to things that we love and that we don't want to see go. So I'm curious. I'm going to do your guys' zodiacs and we'll find out what's going on for the next 30 days. Cycles within cycles within cycles. You know, the macro is what's playing out in the stars, and the micro is people cleaning out their garages, spring house cleaning, tidying. You know, it happens, cycles within cycles. So I'm curious, and we're going to get to the bottom of it. Now I want to read you your postcard from Spirit card. And this really was for me, guys. I'm just sharing it with you because it was so on par. When I pulled it out and read it, I was like, are you freaking kidding me? So let's just read it. Dearest you, there are times when loss is part of life. Sometimes a loss is welcomed, like when you leave a situation not in alignment with your highest good. Sometimes a loss can be sudden and painful, like when a loved one crosses over to our dimension. Regardless of the nature of your loss and your control over it, your experience is asking to be acknowledged. Tears are necessary, as is grief. When you repress the natural expression of loss and try to move on too quickly, the unprocessed pain haunts you. There's that ghost. I'm telling you, it was so profound. The unprocessed pain haunts you in destructive ways. We don't want that for you. Instead, let your heart break wide open. Feel the loss and integrate it. See the beauty that was, the lessons that were learned, and know that as you let go of what is past, ever more of you remains. It gets better, we promise. Your heart expands with more compassion for the world than you have ever had before, and love heals all. We are loving you, sending you love, supporting you, always and forever. That, ooh, I'm getting chills. Look at the goosebumps on my arms just thinking about it, because like there's so many of these. And how I select them is I do this. And whatever one sticks up is the one I grab for the day. And this came out, and I swear I could have bypassed this whole channeled message and just read this to you. But I felt that it needed a little bit of a deeper, longer explanation, because some of us are stubborn as F, right? We really need that lecture. We need that slap on the hand. We need that push. We need that encouragement. So I am here for you guys. If you need encouragement, if you need guidance, if you need to just talk it out, I'm an energy healer. If you need a Reiki session, if you need your chakras balanced, there are ways you can do that for free. And I'm not advocating you pay me money to do it unless the free ways of doing it just didn't help you. But if you'd like a personal private reading, of course, at the end of every video, I got to get my little plug in. I am available. I'm doing 4 readings a day. Sometimes I'm making exceptions for people that are really, really in bad spots. I found myself bending the rules a little bit. Those healthy boundaries, they're still healthy, but they're not quite firm yet. I'm really, really trying to help all of you and still homeschool my child and take care of my home and my cat. And I've got tarps all over my furniture because everything's shut down, and my cat goes in heat every 2 weeks and she sprays like a male cat. I don't know what's going on, but I got everything covered, and I've got lots of chemicals to clean it up with. But I can't wait until the vets open back up for something other than emergency surgeries. Just saying, because that's a cycle I'm ready to see end. So where can you guys show up in your life to end some cycles? And if you need help, please reach out. Everything you need to know is in the description box below. And if I have time, I'll link Kay Moon's most recent video. If not, I'll just copy and paste the link from last month, and you guys can just look for her newest video. It's easy. If you can find me, you can find her. I'll give you the link. I love you guys. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. Here it's kind of cold. Maybe it's warm where you're at. And we'll just see what this Scorpio moon is going to collapse timeline-wise for us. Okay? Don't forget to watch for your 12 zodiacs. Whatever you are, make sure you check your cross watching too. You know, your sun, your moon, your rising, and your Venus. Namaste.